Good morning.
What's going on, Laura?
I had a great day yesterday.
That's good. Would have been better if you were here.
I hiked for about 3.5 hours. Is that good?
What's that?
I hiked for about 3.5 hours. Does that count?
Yeah, well, of course, everything counts.
I'm a little sore.
Yeah. Actually, 3.5 hours is probably way too long, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was a long meeting.
Yeah.
I was in parts of the ranch I don't think I've never been in before.
Lots of things changing around these days.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, good. Mikey McNichol's on. That's a good. Hi, Mikey.
I might go on mute.
Huh? Yeah. Hey, Mike.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
Attaboy.
It's
Like to hear that. Definitely like to hear that. I'm just admitting folks in right now. I got 4 of you, which is great. Kate's in.
Ooh.
That's good. That's awesome. Good. I got 5. Hi, Kate. I'm just waiting for folks to come on. Give us a minute here. It's
I was just curious because we got the email late last night.
Good. I'm glad. Actually, I'm going to go back over kind of what I covered last week. I'm going to give you guys even a little bit more information on it, because I feel so strong about this topic, especially when you are above the age of 30, which, let's face it, most of us are. And how long can we last? When we're talking about the heart. So I'm going to talk about that today. But I always start off, Mike, with a kind of a recap and a little session of question and answer in the beginning about the gym. What questions people might have for me? What's going on? What are we doing? Where are we at? What state are we in? Relative to everything going on with this whole COVID thing, what we're doing to protect ourselves here. So I always start off with that. Then I go into the topic that we're talking about this week. Next week's going to be a good one too. Next week will be next week we're going to talk a little bit about functional training. To me that's a pretty broad term that a lot of people like to use today. But I'll talk about that as we move along here. So guys, good morning. And as people are coming on board here, I'll click away and admit people to the room. I have to, with Zoom these days, you have to admit people into your chat room. So that is exactly what I'm doing. And this week is it's a little bit better than last week. Kelsey, good morning. How are you? I was getting ready to call you yesterday, so I'm glad you're on this morning.
Good morning.
Guys, this is a good chance for us I love to recap for you guys. I love to answer any questions about the week, about where we're at. So let me just start there. So as you know, the governor has pretty much rolled back at least 30 counties. As of last night, maybe 33, 34. I don't even know what the count is now. And the way this works, I'm sure you guys are aware, but you get what's put on what's called the watch list. And I don't know what that magic number is for us to have to hit the watch list. I was debating this with a couple of trainer friends of mine from Santa Cruz, San Francisco, Sacramento, and they seem to think the magic number is 1,000. I would be remiss if I told you guys I knew what that number is. I don't think anybody does. The problem I have with the number is how they're counting it. And the reason I say that is, so if you look in El Dorado County as of yesterday, we had about 366 cases. That's El Dorado County. That's like from the Tahoe Basin all the way down, right? But of the 366 cases, approximately 167 cases have fully recovered. So my question would be, why are you counting that in your count? Right? So realistically, if you have fully recovered people, they should not be in your count. The active cases would be approximately 143, 145, somewhere in there. So where do we sit right now? Well, right now we're okay. Right now we're okay. We're not on the watch list. And what the watch list means, guys, is that you have to be on that list for 3 days in order for them to take an action to shut you down. That's based on your hospitalizations. We had 3. Now I believe we are down to 2. I don't know what last night's count or today is yet. But truth be told, we're doing okay here in this county. So what does that mean for us? So I had a conversation the other morning. When I say us, I mean gyms. Okay. So according to guidelines, you can have your gym outside. Well, I have one of our battalion chiefs who sits with the board every week, and he trains at 5 o'clock in the morning with me. And I asked Mike the other morning, I said, Mike, if they were to say we were to shut down indoor facilities, how would you constitute what we have here? He said, I wouldn't constitute you as an indoor facility. I said, tell me why. And I let him just answer it. I didn't try to prompt him. I didn't try to say anything to him. And he said, because Vince, you have all these roll-up doors. You have 6 exit doors. He said, you have ingress, egress. He said, he goes, you're like an open air facility. He said, you're not running your air conditioning. You don't have fans running. I said, so what would that mean? He said, from my standards, I would say you could stay open. I said, okay. I said, well, I have a plan, even if they said I couldn't do it the way I'm doing it. I have pop-up tents coming. I said, I'll take all of our operation outside. I said, I have everything that we need to do. I can do it right there in that back parking lot. And he said, well, that would work too. He said, but I think you're absolutely fine where you're at. So again, guys, I want to stress to you guys, my sole purpose of what I do here and what we do here is to make your lives better. Sole purpose. Keep you safe as you're moving along your journey in life. The next step is to make sure you're reaching the goals that you want to reach in your life. And you're going to find out here real quick, you are never too old for this, ever. There may be modifications we have to make. There may be things we have to do to reduce volume, to reduce intensities, change in exercise. But you are never, ever too old to keep moving. So when I talk about moving, and you guys, you hear me talk about it a lot, right? You hear me talk about movement a lot. Here's what we know. We know the more you move, the healthier your joints become. And why is that? Because when you move, you have blood flow and you have oxygen. That's transporting all the nutrients you need from the blood to your cartilages to maintain its composure and its integrity. When you don't move, that decreases at such a high rate. And then other things start to happen, right? Muscles atrophy. Atrophy is a big word for going to sleep, relaxing. You start to build fascial tissue, soft tissue in your body, connective tissue. You start to make that tissue go in a lot of different directions. And it attaches like a plant, it metastasizes like a plant to areas that you don't want it to attach to. Because muscle tissue has definitive line, and you want to keep it in that line. Once it gets outside of that line, you now have a thing called pain. And pain is just a funny way of the body's way of telling you something's not right. You know, that old adage I still hear some trainers, I use the word loosely. I had to stop for a minute because some of these folks get paid a lot of money from people because our general public isn't aware. And I kind of sometimes feel like that emoji when I hear them talk, like my hand just goes like this, right? No pain, no gain. No pain, no gain. That is like the worst in this field. That is the worst thing you could tell somebody to try to motivate them. No pain, no gain. People, if you have pain, I'm here to tell you something is not correct. Good morning, Steph. I was hoping you'd be on today. No pain, no gain. I'm like, why would you ever say that to somebody? Okay. Uncomfortable is okay. We got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. But the update, let's finish with the update. We here at this gym are fine. But we're only going to continue to be fine if everybody follows what we're asking everybody to do. Guys, believe me, I don't want to, and I say this tongue in cheek, I don't want to have to run the gym the way it's being run, but there are some really good things about it, right? The workouts are very efficient. The workouts keep the heart rate up, and you're still able to maintain your strength levels and get better at your strength levels, okay? You guys are learning how to optimize your workouts. Cleanliness. You know, guys know me, I'm a clean freak. So cleanliness is huge. I'm looking at some other products. I'm okay with the products that we're using. But I have to balance not destroying our equipment, just because we're using an extremely strong cleaner. So I got a lead last night on a great cleaner that I'm going to start bringing in that they actually use. They actually use it at Mercedes-Benz. They spray the inside of the vehicle with it. So it's really good. And then I had a conversation with a guy who has a company that makes cleaners. And so we got a pretty good lead on a strong cleaner that's not only safe for you guys, but also safe for the equipment. So the cleanliness of the unit, the path of travel in the facility, we have to maintain that, guys. There are some folks who are not paying attention to that, and they absolutely have to. And so I had a meeting with the coaches the other day and said, I'm holding you guys personally responsible to make sure that your classes are safe, that people are staying in the lanes, not crossing over as much. The equipment is clean, and the coaches are doing a really good job going around and cleaning. But I'm starting to see a little bit of laxity, and I can't and I won't have that, because not only am I trying to take care of the facility and keep it open, but my more important thing is I'm trying to keep you guys safe and your family members safe. So to me, guys, you know me well enough. That's really, really, really important. Susan just advised me, I think, that she also has been looking around as well. So we're hard and heavy on this whole cleaning thing, and as I know you guys are too. So I'm excited to keep this thing rolling and get it done even better. So let's talk about counties that are closed and people coming here. We do welcome people to come here, but I won't welcome them to come here at the expense of you guys. You guys are first and foremost to me. I'm not excited about volumizing how many people come into this place. We will look very heavily we will keep the number where we're at. There's 12 per class. We're not changing that number. And those people who want to come in, they they will have to, they're gonna be charged differently. They're gonna have to put money up front to come in, and because this isn't a one and done. You know, oh, when my gym opens, I'm leaving, I'm going back. No, you don't get to do that here. You're either serious about training with us or you're not. You guys are more important to me. You guys are my community. You guys are my family. I'm going to take care of you first. I'm going to make sure that your workouts are not impeded, and you guys are that important to me. So we are our family. We will welcome others into our family as long as they can abide by our rules, as long as we know they're safe, and as long as they know they want to be with us. So anything that I've covered so far that anybody would like to ask me a question on before I move into keeping the heart strong, which was a topic we talked about last week, a little bit more information on it this week. And then next week, I'll be talking about that loose term of functional training. Does anybody have a question for me? Or for Susan signing up, anything like that? If you do, either type into the chat or just unmute and ask the question. Yeah. Anything come to mind, guys? Is everybody happy with the way we are running things?
Yes, I am.
Thanks, Mikey.
Especially for Sharon and I at our age, you know, the workouts you've got set up for, you know, for 50 minutes or whatever it is, suits us much better than the way it used to be.
I've heard that a lot, Mike. I've heard a lot of people say they really are enjoying the efficiency of the workout. And I agree with you. A lot of us are at risk, and that's why it's so important for me to make sure that we're doing the right things. It's important for me to listen to you guys and make the appropriate adjustments as needed, as long as it's the good thing for the whole group. When I say the whole group, all participants. Mm-hmm. So I love hearing that, and thank you. Anybody else have any questions for me?
I was just going to add on. I like ending outside for some reason. I really like doing the last 7 to whatever minutes it is, 10 minutes outside. For some, that just sort of puts me in a really good mood.
There's something to be said to being outside, guys. Now, depending on how long this goes on, the winter months could present a whole nother set of issues, but I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. Again, I think we're in a better position than most, just by the lay of the land and the way our facility is set up. But the key will always be is keeping things safe. I don't care. I know there's a lot of industries out there where people are exposed to viruses. And I'm just going to speak in general about viruses. That's great. I'm sorry. And I know it's a good thing to be exposed, okay? But it doesn't dampen the fact of what's going on and that I'm trying to keep a business running and open. And we have the regulations that we have set here that we have got to abide by. Absolutely have to abide by. And for multitudes of reasons. You know, I have a friend of mine in Arizona, and, you know, we all have our beliefs about this, but he's had to take literally every piece of equipment outside. It looks like Tent City. He's done a spectacular job with it. And it's not the way he wants to have to run business, but it is the way there he has to stay open and survive. So we all have our rules and general rules that we have to live by, whether we like them or we don't like them. Again, I will reiterate, my job is to make sure you guys are safe. It's our job as a community to make sure we keep each other safe. We have people here who have grandparents. We have people here who we are getting older. We have people here who are younger but have babies at home. We need to keep that population, our community, safe. And we're doing everything we can, not to mention the fact that I had a pop in the other day from the county just to make sure, you know, it was a friendly hi. Am I still abiding by what's being asked me to abide by? And thank goodness, you know, we are doing it. But that also tells me that there are some places that are not doing it. So, you know, I don't want to belabor this point. It's just very important that we continue to take care of each other. I keep listening to what you guys are asking, and I try to accommodate everything that I can for everybody. And Kelsey, thank you so much. I'm very happy that you feel safe. It is hot in the afternoons. You know, we have a short period of time in this window where things will start cooling down. I'm on the weather every day, trying to make sure, and if there's anything I can do, I'm going to do it. If I have to put up pop-ups outside, I'm actually looking into the misting system. With a misting system, I got to be careful because now we're talking about destroying equipment, and you know, there's a lot of factors that I have to work through, and we will, but we're still going to put out the best product for you guys and the safest. So with that being said, I'm going to go into, again, the heart. And guys, I still can't believe how many people I see training without a heart rate monitor. Okay. I don't know why you guys don't wear one. So let's just open up that question right there. Why don't you guys wear a heart rate monitor? And if you don't wear one, how do you truly know where your training zone is when you're training? And why is that so important? Does anybody, and hey guys, please, you can't be wrong. I want to make this a little more interactive this week. Why don't you guys wear a heart rate monitor? And if it's just because, you know, I'm lazy, I just haven't really gotten one, you know, whatever your reason is, tell me why you don't wear one. Anybody, please.
I just kept forgetting to charge my iWatch, Vince.
Okay, so it will be charged for Monday?
Yeah, it's already charged.
Okay, awesome.
So you do consider the Apple Watch a adequate heart rate monitor?
You know, let me speak about that. So guys, I have a Garmin watch, and it's not a cheap watch, okay? Pretty expensive. And I got it because I thought to myself, well, by God, this thing's going to read my heart rate really well. I hate to tell you this, but the ones that are just on your wrist, and I know the strap is a pain in the neck. Believe me, I was never that guy either. But you can be off anywhere from 10 to 24 beats with that little wrist. And I don't care which one it is. I don't care if it's the Garmin. I don't care if it's the Apple. I don't care if it's the Morpheus. I don't care. I don't care. The ones that are the most accurate typically right now, and I wish there was a way to make another one to make it very accurate. I don't care if it would be, I thought of a patch. I thought of a lot of different things. But the strap is probably your most accurate, and Polar has been around forever. Wahoo, the Wahoo Ticker is another good one. But please, I can't emphasize enough, and hopefully after we get done talking today, you guys will go online to Amazon and at least order a Polar heart rate monitor. And Lori, to answer your question, right now, if that's all you have, yes, wear it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. As you know, in our groups, I go around and check your heart rate monitors.
Yes, you do.
You know, guys, it's that important to me. It's that important to me. And here's why. And please, when I get off the line today, go Google it up yourself. The number one reason for death in the United States or anywhere is heart disease. Heart disease. When you go look at the chart, you see this little boop here for, cancer. You see this one here for Alzheimer's. You see this one here, dementia. And then all of a sudden, all the way across the board, heart disease. Okay? So that's why this topic right here is so important, guys. Know where your heart rate is when you are training. It is dangerous to go above 85% for a period of time. And if you don't have a monitor on, you don't even know if you're in 60%, 50%, 65%. You don't know. That's like playing Russian roulette. So again, I'm gonna go back to a story. This is my story. About 2 years ago, I entered you guys know I do a lot of biking, and I entered my first real tough bike race. It was the race around Tahoe, and I had some anxiety going into it. One thing I like anybody else, I have a fear of not being able to breathe. I like claustrophobic. I won't go into small spaces. I just asked my wife when we went to Italy and we went to the Vatican, and we went down to go see this tomb. And I got into this glass enclosure where you started heading down, and they had to let me out. There was no way in hell I was going down, and I would have destroyed whatever I needed to destroy. You just needed to let me out. It's that bad, guys. So back to Tahoe. Had my heart rate on, had my computer on the front of the bike. We're about 10 miles in, and we start to climb Emerald Bay. And I'm climbing, and I can see my heart rate go 138, 141, 147, 150, 155, and now it's not stopping. So during my training, I was taught just start switching down gears, just spin the bike. Okay, well, I did that, and again, it wasn't working. Now I'm starting to get that I can't breathe feeling. So I have two choices. One is work through it, see if it starts to come down, make some more adjustments on the bike, or get the hell off the bike. But now I have another issue I have to deal with, right? Which is what? Altitude. So putting the two together, I kept going, and finally I saw it drop a beat, and then I saw it drop another beat. And finally, I got it in around 145 to 151. Well, what I figured out was it wasn't because I wasn't in shape. It wasn't because I was going to have a heart attack. Didn't know it at the time. It had to do with the altitude. My body needed to acclimatize to the altitude, and it did. And for the rest of the race, I didn't have an issue with that. But had I not had that monitor on, and I think we take it for granted, oh, it's only a 50-minute workout. Had I not had that monitor on, I don't know that I would be here talking to you guys today. Because chances are, I would have just said, oh, it's just part of what happens, and I would have kept going. And then now you're rolling the dice, right? You don't know what comes next. The same thing can happen in here. The same thing can happen to you in here, and that's why it's important to see that number. So you guys, let's go back into what I talked about last week. Most gyms will have a perceived rate of exertion chart, or you've seen those charts, and it goes by age, right? So as you're getting older, your heart rate starts to decrease, right? Your maximum heart rate starts to decrease of where you should be. Well, like I said to you guys last week, that's not a senior discount. Okay, that's to let you guys take it easy on the cardio machines. It's because as you get older, your heart simply can't beat as fast as it did when you were younger. So it's really funny, you know, I hear younger folks in the crowd go, Vince, my heart rate's at 170. And I'm like, that's good. That's where it should be. Because, and I'll talk about how you get there, but just for your guys' information, and we talked about it last week, the older person who's working at 120 beats per minute could feasibly be working harder and at a higher percentage than the young person's heart rate who's beating at 150 beats per minute. And that's based on your VO2 max, which you guys know, we went over it. That's your maximal oxygen uptake in the body. It's the measurement of the maximum amount of oxygen a person can utilize when they are exercising or during anything they're doing intensely. For some people, it's just walking up the steps. For some people, it's walking up the driveway to get the mail. For some, it's going on a walk and walking up a hill that a year ago was a little bit easier for you. So pay attention to those things. So that's your VO2 max. So why do we lose that as we age? So the reason that declines with age is that your maximum heart rate goes down. When you lose the VO2 max, your maximum heart rate goes down, and that reduces both your cardiac output and your oxygen delivery to your muscles. So aging, as we age, starting at the age of 30, I'll go over that later, depresses there's a spontaneous activity. It's an electrical activity of the heart. It's your natural, I term it, or it's termed the natural pacemaker. That's the sinoatrial node out of the left ventricle. That translates, when that gets depressed, that translates to a lower VO2 max, guys, and it's going to lower your performance in anything you do. Those stairs, that hill, your training capacity in the gym. Because remember, your aerobic capacity, longer bouts of endurance, feeds your anaerobic capacity, the short burst type things. And I'm not going to get into type 1, type 2 muscle tissue during this thing here, but guys, remember, my whole purpose of my Saturday morning talks is to educate, is to push out information so that when you guys train this week, you make subtle changes in your training to get you to your goals, right? Get you to your goals. So with a lower VO2 max, your performance in endurance events, and I do have a lot of folks who are 40, 50, and even some 60-year-olds who are still competing. Okay, so today when you hear me say compete, it could be just you competing against you. It doesn't have to be a triathlon or a marathon or a bike race, or it doesn't have to be any of that. It could just be you competing with you. So let's define cardiac output. You heard me mention your cardiac output. It's the amount of blood that the heart pumps through the circulatory system in a minute. Okay. Yes, Steph, you can measure VO2 max. There's a lot of doctors out there. They'll either put you on a bike or a treadmill, and they'll put you in an oxygen mask, and they absolutely can measure that. You know, if you get a number of like 20, you probably want to do something about it. And if you're in your 30s, you're pretty good. 40 and above, you're doing real well. But I have information down the road for you if you want to go see a doc who does that. Dr. Hill is one of them that I use. His equipment is top end. It's about 100 and a half, I think, to get the test done. So anyhow, the cardiac output is the amount of blood the heart pumps through your circulatory system, guys, in a minute. So the amount of blood that you can put out by the left ventricle of the heart, that's that heart pump that I was talking about. And your VO2 max is affected by how well your body can bring oxygen into the lungs and how well this is carried in our blood to the working muscles, cartilages, tendons, ligaments, the whole 9 yards, and how much oxygen the muscle can use to fuel any of its contractions. So the heart, see my hand? Every one of those is a contraction, okay? It's not just a muscle contraction, but it is because the heart is what? A muscle. So just like you're trying to make your biceps strong, trying to make your back strong, trying to make your legs strong, your hips, your glutes, you really got to make your heart strong. Maximal heart rate, I also talked about. So what is your max heart rate and how do you get there? The simplest way, 220 minus your age. 220 minus your age. That's your max heart rate. So let's say you're 45 years old. This is an example I gave last week. Subtract 45 from 220, 175. Okay, this is the average maximum number of times your heart should beat per minute during exercise. That's the maximum number, guys. Maximum number. So what are your training levels when you're training? So here's what I tell people. I keep it really simple. If you're new, well, the first thing you do is you go get checked by your doctor. Let them know you're getting ready to delve into an exercise program. So if you're new to training, like brand new to it, and you have a coach with you, our coaches know anybody brand new into the facility, what's their training age? Everybody has a training age, meaning how long have you actually been in a training, a supervised training program? Okay. So if you're brand new, we're going to start you off somewhere between 50 and 65%. Now I can also tell where somebody's at. I watch how they sweat. I watch the color of their skin. I watch their movement patterns. So there's a lot of other ways I'm looking to find out how well you guys are doing. So if somebody's new at training, it's 50 to 60% of the max heart rate. If you're kind of an intermediate, you've been doing things for a few years, 60 to 75%, advanced 70 to 85% of the max heart rate. Now, all those numbers go out the window if you're on medication, if you've had a heart attack, if you've ever gone into AFib. That's why those questions need to be answered. You'll hear in my groups, and anybody in my groups can attest to this, I always ask you, is there anything I need to know before we train? Did anything happen from yesterday to today that I need to know about? These are the questions I ask to make sure that every day you guys are training, at least I have a good baseline to figure out where people are at. So how much do we decline in our maximum VO2 max starting from remember I said starting from the age of 30, guys? Okay. So the current evidence out there is that you're going to decline. It supports about 10% per decade decline in VO2 max. And guys, you're not going to outrun this. You can slow it down, but you're not going to outrun it. Okay. So when you're doing high intensity exercise, and a lot of that is going on in here, you can reduce that loss by up to about 50%. Okay. 50%. Now, as we get older, that percentage shortens a little bit. But the reason this is happening and why it's more difficult as we age is that the heart tends to stiffen as we get older, meaning it fills in with connective tissue. Remember, I talked about that, and it becomes less powerful as we're aging. It therefore becomes harder to maximally fill the heart with blood. So that's what's happening as you're aging, and that starts from the age of 30. So one of the additional horrors here, if we're not eating right, if we're not sleeping right, if we're not taking our stress levels down, and guys, again, if you're in my group, you hear this every single day. Because I figure if I say it every single day, at some point, something is going to stick. And guys, I have to live by that same regimen. I have to get better at that as well. So believe me, when I'm throwing little pebbles, I'm probably talking about myself as well. But the additional horror here is as we're aging, the blood vessels tend to gradually get more corroded. It's like a pipe, it gets corrosion in it. And it gets blocked by fatty deposits. When that gets blocked, it limits the blood vessels' extensibility and carrying capacity. So when that happens, that's why we have events of high blood pressure, cholesterol problems, diabetes, so on and so on and so on. It's like that little ball when if you had kids, you know, the ball is like yellow, red, and blue, and maybe I'm dating myself here, but it had little pieces inside the ball, a star, a rectangle, a triangle, and each piece fit in a little hole in there, and it would go through, and then you'd open the ball up, take it out, and redo the pieces again. And everybody used that for hand-eye dexterity and all that good stuff. Well, I use it as an example to show that when you are blocked by fatty deposits, the things that are supposed to be working inside the body naturally now are closed off. And it can't work as efficiently as it used to work. So that's why the decline, and that's how the decline takes place. So what can we do to offset this? I hope you guys are sitting down, because the answer is coming. It's coming. Just wait for it. That's right. Exercise. And you guys are doing it. But I'm going to tell you this much, guys. For every day you miss, you can't get that day back. It's gone. It's gone. You don't get it back. So your consistency is your key. Now, I hear it all the time. Well, I did this. Does that count? It counts to something. Does it count to the means end? Do you want to get that much progress, or do you want to get that much progress? That's what it means. Okay? That's what it means. And the other thing I will continue to remind people of, guys, when you had your stay-at-home order, where's the one place everybody yearned to be? Outside or at the gym. Well, now it's given back to you, and all of a sudden I'm seeing drop-offs. Why? Are we really creatures of our old habits? Because we don't have to be. Remember, the only way to change is to make yourself uncomfortable. And it's easy at 4, 5, 6 in the morning to want to just stay in bed. And some days, far and few between, it's good to do that. But once every week, twice every week, it's not going to get you where you want to go. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. And yes, guys, I think people, when they talk to me, they're like, oh, Vince never had kids before. Vince never had jobs before. He doesn't understand what that's like. 3 kids, 32, 21, and 18. Been where you are. 2 jobs at one time. Worked for the state and ran the gym at the same time. So I started every day. That's where this whole 2:37 in the morning came in. Started every day at 2:37 in the morning, opened the gym at 3:30, and ran till 7:30 at night. And yes, had another job in between. And yes, had my kids. And yes, my wife did the same thing. And no, I did not give up my workouts. Even to this day. And I still run the same pace. And guys, I can only use me because that's what I know the best. I'm not you. You are you. But if you write the word guru down, G-U-R-U, what is a guru? It's the master of something. But if you say the letters G-U-R-U, you're your own master. You got to do you. And I know you're here because you want to get better at some facets of what you're doing, whether it's your health, whether it's your mindset, whether it's your mobility, whether it's your weight, whether it's your mental health, right? Do something every day to get a little bit better. So exercise can improve all of the areas I talked about. So the biggest thing is a higher VO2 max. The higher VO2 max, the more aerobically fit you are. So what does that mean? If you take your resting heart rate, an average resting heart rate that's pretty good, somewhere between 64, 74-ish. Let's leave it at that. Mine used to be 68. It's now down to 47. That means my heart is working less, doesn't have to work as hard. That's a good thing. Because like any part in a car, you work it too hard, it breaks, right? So you're more aerobically fit. That is, you can do more endurance stuff, more endurance work for your body weight. In the general population, your VO2 max tends to decline at 10% per decade after the age of 30. So people who continue to want to train, compete, and can reduce that drop by about half. I talked about it. So from 10%, you can go to 5% per decade. You can absolutely do that. Even if your oxygen delivery, folks, to muscles goes down, the ability of your muscles to efficiently utilize the oxygen they do get relative to your workload, we call this your exercise economy. Let me say that again. The ability of your muscles' efficiency to utilize the oxygen that they get to a given relative workload is your exercise economy. This can be well maintained, folks, in your 60s, your 70s, and 80s, though the total muscle mass in your body may tend to decline. And we know if you're not doing something, you're going to lose 25% of your muscle tissue by the time you're 70 years old. That's why what you're doing is so important. So you've got to maintain, number one, maintain your training. Okay? Number two, more muscle, less fat. More muscle, less fat. So guys, here you have functional training, you have strength, and you have hypertrophy, and we play in between all three of those things. Okay? So the more muscle you gain, muscle tissue has a high demand for what? Oxygen. High demand for it. Fat tissue has a demand for nothing. It just drags your relative VO2 max down. Fatty tissue is just dead weight, guys. It just drags that VO2 max to its. That's why you guys start doing something and within seconds you're dead. And I'm there. I'm there. You know, guys that I ride with, and my training's fine. Weight training's fine. But when I ride, you're going uphill, I just tell them, you know what, man, I got you guys to the hill. Just wait for me at the top. Right? Steph, you know what I'm talking about. Right? Vary your training, guys. That's why you see us varying things out here. The old traditional styles, to me, those are people who are bogged down here. I interviewed somebody the other day, and I asked this person, or Gabe actually asked this person, to their forte was programming. That's what they told us. So Gabe had two pens in his hand and said, here's the individual you have, design a program for this individual. So I looked at the program when I came in, and I told Gabe, I said, that's not what we do here. It was traditional bodybuilding. Traditional bodybuilding. I'm like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work. Okay. So vary your training. Because if you grind away at just one type of training, folks, I'm gonna promise you, you're gonna invite injuries in. Overuse injuries. We see it a lot, and a good example is runners. Runners they don't pay a lot of attention to strength training. Not all, but a lot of them don't. So we just see overuse issues. And guess where we see them at? Hips, knees, ankles, and feet. Oh my gosh, we call that the kinetic chain. Domino effect. Starts here, boop, 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 boop. Now you got an array of issues and you got to figure out, okay, which one do we attack first? So in summary, folks, always get checked by your doctor, okay? And although we will eventually lose that age versus performance race, if you will, better training, better recovery practices. Remember, I talked about short and long-term recovery. How many of you are doing your mobility work 7 days a week like you're supposed to be? I've seen a lot of people coming into the gym going, oh, Vince, this is sore. Oh, that is sore. Oh, I can't, I had this problem. Well, did you do your mobility when you're at home? I don't get it. I was just talking to Roberto this morning. I'm thinking to myself, people spend so much money on their vacations, their homes, their cars, going out to dinners when you can, but they don't really invest that time in themselves. If you invest your time in yourselves, all those things become much easier and better for you to do. But we are gonna lose that age versus performance race over time, but we can make it a lot better. We're starting to see athletes now who are training well deep into their 40s. You see it in the NFL, right? You see it in the NFL. And we got guys still playing at 41, 42, 43 years old, where before we didn't see that. So there's a lot, there is a lot to this, but we have to train smarter guys, not harder, okay? We can reduce the chances of injuries and maximize gains from training, and we can minimize the whole aging effect. Older athletes, and I consider all of you athletes when you're training here, you need longer recovery times, okay? So that's why you see the workouts the way we have them. We'll do a heavy lower body on a Monday, but we won't do it again heavy until Thursday. That's your recovery time. Guys, go for walks, go for swims, go for a light bike ride after you have worked out. That's your start of your recovery. Now, remember, I always talk about recovery not being just the workout, your food, your sleep, lowering your stress levels. That will also improve your capacity. High intensity interval training, which is exactly what we do here. If you work it hard enough, that's why you see us pushing you on the times now, right? This COVID thing isn't new to us for trying to push a workout time-wise. I always say to you guys, if you're spending an hour and a half in a gym, you're spending time, you're not investing time. Nobody has to go to a gym and spend an hour and a half. Even if you're training major strength work, you're still only taking up to maybe 2 minutes in between a set. Guys, I was a power lifter, and I was a pretty good power lifter. Placed 4th in the country. So I know what the work to rest ratios are, and I know how long a workout should take. It should never take you 2 or 3 hours. That's ridiculous. And I will argue that with the best of them. Especially for your guys' day. You got other things to be doing, but you want to make sure you start it off right. Cross training. Instead of just strength work, make sure you're out doing something different. Hiking, biking, swimming. Cross train, guys. It will also open up new windows and a whole new population to you of friends and different things. And then, of course, guys, you know how I feel about active recovery. I'm huge on that. Your mobility work, icing down. Make sure you're getting ice and cold packs on you when you need to. Ice is still the best remedy out there, okay? Ice is still the best remedy out there. You got a stiff shoulder, you got an Achilles, you got something. Ice is still the best and most important. So it's 8:53. I wanted to delve into this topic because of how important it is. And if you didn't get any takeaway from today, the takeaway you should have gotten is go get a heart rate monitor and wear it every single time you're in this gym. I think you will find out and have a different experience in your training. I will also submit to you that your heart doesn't know the difference if you have a heart rate of 150 on the treadmill or the bike or the rower, or you're swinging a kettlebell and it's 150. The heart doesn't say, oh, that's a kettlebell swing. Oh, that's a treadmill. 150 is 150, folks. Okay, so the heart rates can get up, and it's a great indicator. I had a lady the other day, she's a runner. And Kate, I think I told you this. She's telling me how hard her heart's working. I said, well, when you come in on your next training session, bring your heart rate monitor with you. Let's see where you're at. Okay. I know right where I'm at, Vince. I'm at 140. I could feel it right now. I said, okay. Took her up to the same levels where she was at. She never got above 123. Ever got above 123. I said, does that tell you something? She goes, I felt like I was working so hard. I said, and given your age, you're not even at, I don't think she was even at 65%. And she thought she was working much harder. And I know that, guys. So when you're out there and you're breathing heavy, you think that capacity is working harder. A lot of times when you see the number, it's not. She actually had a really good heart rate monitor. So get a heart rate monitor and you will see a difference in your training. When you see a difference in your training, you'll feel the difference in your working capacity. It will get much better. It's going to take time and it's going to be uncomfortable. But in order to affect change, you have to be uncomfortable in anything that you do. Does anybody have any quick questions for me? As I'm looking here, what's your thoughts on therapy guns? I love them. I love them. It's trigger release. We have them here. I have one at home. I use it. I use it for areas that I can't necessarily reach. I love it. Kate, yeah, you and I can discuss we can measure, and I can tell you exactly where you need to be at. So we can get pretty accurate there. But yes, I do have some suggestions for you. Let's see here, guys. Okay, so who just said to me, okay, Bob, you like the Polar H10? Awesome. I think that's good. Kate, you're so welcome. Love having you guys here. Guys, anybody else want to unmute, ask me a question, something I didn't cover? Okay, guys, so next week we're going to meet at the same time. We're going to talk a little bit about functional training, strength training, and just so you guys have a better understanding of what we're doing out there on the board and how it relates to training. And we'll talk about hypertrophy in the body and why we go back and forth between the two. So you'll have a better understanding. And then you'll also have a better understanding of load. You guys always hear me say that when we load, your last 2 to 3 reps should be very difficult. Okay. That's to affect what we're trying to do on that board and give you guys what you need to do to increase. Because if you've been here 6 months and you're doing a 1-arm dumbbell row and you're using 20 pounds and you've still been using 20 pounds, that's a problem. That's a problem. Meaning you're not placing a volume on the muscle that it needs to get stronger. And I'll explain all that next week as we get into it. Okay. Any questions for me, guys? Thank you so much. Go enjoy your families. Please be safe. And when you come in Monday to train, let's be safe as well. Love you guys. Have a great, 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 great weekend.
Thank you, Vince.
You're so welcome, Kate. Thank you.
Have a good weekend, Vince.
You too, guys. Lori, have a great one. See you all Monday.
Bye-bye.